janitor in the van, he would get up there and will tell you, we really think that we're 80%.
I'm reaching that time of the day where it's like haze.
And
It's
they,
like,
when he,
what have I talked about already? What haven't I talked about?
so he might feel good about this particular service foundation side, the advanced side. And so they may have all that hooked up and they've exposed it.
Right, we'll get started again. We had about a 15-minute break.
See how it works. There you go.
We'll jump into event scheduler and trips. Out of curiosity, who has never touched event scheduler or trips? Okay, so we have some newbies in the group. Good, I like it. So we're going to try to cover it kind of soup to nuts for you. If everybody has already touched it, I'll go easy on you, but we'll go a little more in depth. All right, I'm fairly zoomed in, so go a little bit bigger. All right, so when we're talking event scheduler and trips, I'll repeat it, but we talked about it in our Slate 101. The real difference between events and scheduler is events is a one-to-many type of an event or a program. So it's a one-to-many type of a program. Scheduler is a one-to-one type of a program. So again, best example I would give is an event would be like a campus tour, an open house, a program that you're having on campus that many people can come to. Scheduler is like a financial aid meeting. Only I can go to that with the financial aid counselor. So I don't want my friend Jeff coming in, hearing my financial situation. So it's only between me and the financial aid counselor. So, or me and my advisor, or me and my counselor, or you name the person. So that's the difference between the events and scheduler. Again, if you're in the new UI, you'll just see one, and then you'll see events and scheduler here in the dropdown. I still like the old UI, so I'm going to start there. All right, so I'm going to go into events, and I see a couple things first off. First thing I usually see, unless you've changed your settings, is the calendar view. So the calendar view is good-ish. And the reason why I say that is as you're embarking on Slate, you'll just see the events that exist. As Slate's been in use for a long time and many other areas are using Slate, these are going to blow up. So you're going to see, maybe 15 events are happening on Monday the 5th, and you're going to want to filter that down because you may not care about 14 out of those 15 events, but you only care about one of them. So the calendar view over time, will start to look very cluttered. So in that instance, you can always go over to list view and you can see what's happening in list view. Now this goes back to the beginning of time. You can sort it, but you can only sort it within this page. So I can only sort page 1 and then I can go sort page 2. Kind of drives me a little bit nuts. But you can do calendar list view. And then lastly, you can filter it by your folders. I'm going to tell you, foldering in events is extremely critical. So do not mess that up. So you are going to thank yourself for having a very good folder structure. And now I'm losing my voice. So, excuse me. So you're going to thank yourself for a good foldering structure. Depending on your school, you may want, again, I'm going to pick on Columbia because I can. We look at their events. We created some really good folders for them. They have an admissions folder, and within their admissions folder, then they have a campus tour folder. I told them if you have any new programs like an open house, put it in your admissions folder. So they'll have admissions and then Columbia open house, admissions, Columbia campus tour, admissions, whatever other program. So your foldering is going to make a difference. Same with advising. Here's my advising. This is my 23-24 advising. I'll have 24-25 advising, 25-26 advising. This is the structure that worked well for them. You may have a different structure, but whatever the structure is, keep it as organized as possible. Here's our Charger Center events. Let's pick on admissions. So maybe if you have multiple campuses as part of your college, then you're going to have your admissions Columbia campus tour, admissions Dyersburg campus tour, admissions Jackson campus tour. Let's just say all of them are one campus. So you'll have all your campuses or centers listed in separate subfolders. The reason for this is it's going to make your life easier when advertising those events. We're going to talk about that. So some basic navigation, you have your new events, new templates. You can search for events. So I can look for open house. They don't have anything called open house, but I can do a search for an event type. To give you another quick view, you can also do it by month, week, or day. So I can literally just say, what does today look like versus what does the week look like, and see these different events. Within the event, you'll see the name of the event, the time of the event, and the number here with the little hashtag or the number sign is how many people have signed up for this event. So you can see very quickly, nobody signed up for this, nobody signed up for this, but 3 people signed up for the tour tomorrow afternoon. So you can see that. Some other navigation stuff. Or that for now. That's probably best for now. You can also change it by user. So if you know you're looking for only Matt's, things that Matt's assigned to, you can switch to user here if you'd like as well. If it's null, it will show all events. I'm not going to get today too in depth with what is it, Active Scheduler. There is something called Active Scheduler where it can reference your calendar and show availability on your calendar, kind of like a Calendly, not as robust as something like a Calendly. Technolutions is getting better at it, but that functionality exists out there. Check out the knowledge base for that. All right, so let's go and create a new event, not in Columbia. I want them to like me. All right, so we're going to create a new event here, and I'm just going to go to new event. We can also create templates. It's beneficial to create templates as you go along. Some of the templates I would recommend are high school visit template, college fair template, campus tour template. Any program that's going to be reoccurring, create that as a template. It's going to make your life so much easier. It's going to save you a heck of a lot of work. What the heck? Let's create a new template. I'm going to call this my let's call it college fair template. I'll call it open house template. All right, so I'm creating my open house template. Matt's School of Slate is going to offer open houses. So I'm creating my open house template. If you have a realm or if you're using realms, put it in a realm. Otherwise, if it's null, all rooms will be able to see it. So let's lock it down, keep it in our realm. If you don't see the realm button, that just means you're not using it right now. That's a security question that we'll talk about later on. Status, I would always just make it active. It's a template. We want it to be active unless you don't want anybody using it. You're just starting to build it and you want to lock it down and you don't want somebody, some rogue user going in and using it. You can make it inactive. Time zone, I would always auto detect from location. We'll talk about that in a moment. The only time that you're not going to auto detect from location is if you're doing a virtual event. So if you're using Zoom, Teams, any kind of a virtual platform, Slate share, then you'll actually pick a time zone. The user, kind of like the what we were creating before with the queries, it doesn't really matter who the user is. I would say that the user should be either the person who is in charge of that event or the person who is going to be going to that event. So in terms of a college fair, high school visit, something like that, if I'm creating the event, kind of ignore template for a moment, if I'm going to that event, I would want me to be the user because I'm going to that event. If I'm the events coordinator on campus for the admissions office, I would want those events to be me. If I'm the user of that event, again, ignore that it's a template at this moment, but if I'm the user of that event, I'm going to see some boxes right below here that show what my upcoming schedule is. And we can take a look at that in a moment as well. Admin notify email, never put an email address in this email box. The reason for this is every time that somebody signs up for that event, you're going to get an email. So if it's something like a college or not a college or like a campus tour, and you only have 2 or 3 people sign up for it, it's not a bad thing. It's not great, but it's not horrible. If it's something like an open house and you have 500 people signing up for that event, you're going to get 500 emails. You do not want 500 emails. So just ignore the admin notify email. Location, self-explanatory. Is it an online event? Yes or no? Are we using it for Slate Share? Are we using an external service? If it's the external service, put the URL here, Zoom, Teams, whatever your URL is. If it's not an online event, what's the location name? So we're going to type that in. Just going to pick on Columbia. So I can type in Columbia State Community College. It auto-populates the address information. I can overwrite it in here if I'd like as well. So maybe I want to say 1665 Hampshire Pike. You know, I can put in a room in a building here if I'd like to advertise that as well. And I could save that information. It's going to yell at me and say that's not a real location. But I can put in, I can override and add in information on there. Description, this is public facing. So anything in description is going to be public facing.
Can I back up and ask you a question about location?
Yes.
If it's an event across multiple campuses, do you have to do the event on each campus?
Great question. You may or may not want to. So depends. So the question is when I'm creating, so right now we're creating a template. Do I want to create a template for each campus or do I want to create one general template? You don't have to fill all this information out on the template. You would want this information on the event. So I say it depends because we may want to create a template that's just a campus tour template and you're using it at the campus A, campus B, and campus C. You may want different templates depending on what that event actually entails. So if on campus A, I'm going to send it an email, meet at the flagpole. But in campus B, I'm going to say meet at the welcome center. In campus C, I'm going to say go to your advisor's office. I may want 3 different templates. If it's very generic information, let's say you have a welcome center on each campus, I may want one template and then leave the location blank and then fill that out on the event. Personal preference.
I forgot this was a template.
Yeah, so yeah, no problem. We'll get to that too in a moment. Sorry, and the preserve formatting. All right, forgot that. If I overwrite this, I can preserve formatting and then it doesn't yell at me when I try to overwrite the room number here. Take that off. Description, public facing description. You can throw in HTML, you can make it look pretty, whatever. So I threw in something that we can take a look at in a moment. I'm in our instance, right? Yes. Registration settings. This is where you can put some limits on the registration. There may be, and this may determine, do you want a different template for different campuses as well? Because maybe the registration limit for campus A is 5 people, but campus B, we can take 50 people. And campus C, we can only take 3 people as our registration setting, because maybe we only have room in the presentation center for those numbers, fire codes, things like that. So we could put a registration limit on our template if we'd like to say only 50 people. 51. Only 50 people can sign up for this event. So out of those 50 people, do we want to include guests in that limit or not include guests in that limit? So if we do not include guests in that limit, it's 50 students. If we do include guests, it's 50 people, including mom, dad, aunt, uncle, all of that. So if I bring 10 people with me, we're down to, what is that, 49, because there will be 11 people coming. So it's me and 10 people. We can only hit, sorry, not 49, 39. We'll have only 39 more spots left to go until we hit the max. I'm not going to get too deep into this, but you can put text to say, hey, this is no longer available. You know, you can do custom text here. You can have a wait list limit. You know, we can fit 50 people for this event and we'll have a wait list of 10 or something like that. Most schools aren't doing registration limits. Most schools are saying, listen, bring as many people as you want. Come on down, you know, you're the next contestant. We want you here. So you don't have to have a registration limit. But this is really helpful for things like fire codes. You're having an open house in the gym and your maximum capacity is 463 people. So you can say our registration is 463 people, including guests, because otherwise the fire department's going to shut us down. You can allow rescheduling on here. I'll be honest, I'm not a fan of the rescheduling. I kind of like a little more of the personal touch where if they want to reschedule, they can't come to an open house. You give a call and you say, hey, Matt, I can't come to your open house. Can I reschedule? And then I'll reschedule you administratively, but you can allow rescheduling. You'll see reschedule folders. This is where I said before, foldering matters. So get a good foldering structure because you could say you're allowed to reschedule for only the events in the orientation folder, or you're allowed to reschedule for only the events in the orientation afternoon folder, or what have you. So that's rescheduling. Notes is all internal. Some best practices for notes is describe the things that you need for this event. For our event people out there, I don't know if any of you are the event people on your campus. Most people wear multiple hats, but you have typically that binder that you have all the information that you need for that open house or things like that, where it's like, this is where we rent our tables from. This is where we rent our tents from. This is where we rent our chairs from. You know, we have a bounce house for the toddlers and things like that. So this is where you'll put all your notes. So you know, you put all your notes in here, rent tables from Tables R Us, let dining services know 48 hours before the event, what your final number is, all of that stuff. So now this becomes your knowledge base. So you go ahead and win the lottery, you're no longer with the university, and now whoever's taking over that event has all your information. They know, hey, you know what, I got to call Tables R Us because I need to rent 48 tables. Get, I don't know, 12 tables. So this is a good way to store your information. I've even seen it where people upload pictures of the place settings for like alumni events, where they take a picture of the place setting and they say, this is how you set the place up. This is how you set, this is the map of the room. And this is where we put the tables. This is where we put registration. This is where we put the stage. This is the script of my welcome speech that I put on here. So you can use notes for any of that. It's really beneficial just to store all that data in Slate.
Spot is helpful. Another use case is when we have them log in, we have to edit the URL to work with our single sign-on. So it's not the event URL that's pre-displayed. So a lot of times they're used to me put in the URL in the notes section. So that way they don't have to edit it repeatedly.
That's a good way too. Do you use event portals?
Yes.
Okay,
Anytime there's more than one.
got it.
I wish if you know of a way to not do that.
So yeah, event portals are a good way to do that too, but
Especially when there's like 50 or 60
Yeah.
or more.
But still, I need to edit the URL for the event portal at that point. Unless there's a way to systematically have the URL like come in with the, that's a different thing. It's okay.
let's talk about that more. I'm curious about what you're doing with that. But I like the notes just to store, it's a knowledge dump. This is where we put all of our information.
Where do they upload? Like, we already have a lot of that planned out. Where do you upload a document on here? For example, if we already have something?
Yeah, good question. You can copy and paste it.
That's it.
So Control C, Control V. If you have a picture of something,
Sure, yeah.
I might host the picture elsewhere, like someplace on your website or, you know, on a shared drive or something like that, but then copy and paste it into here. Or you can save it in your actual library within Slate. So maybe create an events subfolder, and these are our open house events, our alumni events, things like that. So cool. And notes here is all internal. So none of this gets displayed externally unless you decide to force it to display externally by exporting the notes. Let's save that.
Thank you.
But, so now we've created our template, right? So this is the shell of our template at this point. So the shell of our template's been created. There's some other things that we want to create on our template. We typically want some communications on our template. We want some new mailings. This is going to be, what do they call it? Confirmation page. So you always want, at minimum, a confirmation page. You want like a registration email. You want typically ahead of time email, like 24 hours, 7 days, depending on what event it is. You want to email the student, to remind them that, hey, you're signed up for this event tomorrow. Hope to see you there. Kind of like when I got one from my eye doctor the other day where it said, hey, you're signed up for an appointment next week. Make sure you're there. If you can't come, let us know. So you want to do the same thing. So first one we're going to do is confirmation page. I'm going to try to go through these fairly quickly. So we're going to do confirmation page only. The reason why I want to show this is confirmation page does not have to be pretty. So we're going to edit our message and we're going to say, hi. Okay. So it doesn't have to be pretty. This has to be just text because it inherits the branding of your website. So I left some space just because I like to click the merge fields later, but I'm going to say hi and then pull in the student's name, which is all the CIS fields. So we're going to say hi, CIS preferred. We have received your registration. We will send you a confirmation to, and I'll pull in CIS email. I like saying that to the student because they get the splash page that pops up after they hit submit, but it's a good reminder to be like, I'm emailing you at your AOL email address, your Hotmail, your Gmail, your at, sig.edu email address. So whatever email address they use to sign up for the event, we're then telling them we're sending this to this location. So I like to do that as personal preference for me. And for a confirmation page, you also just need a subject. It never shows. Just usually type in confirmation page and save. So when I sign up for my event, I'm going to get a splash page that says, hi, Matt, we received your registration. We will send you a confirmation to matt@sigcorp.com. Very informational, nothing too crazy with that. Another thing to just be aware of is the trigger. I use the default right now as upon registration or update. My recommendation is changing it to something like just upon registration. Because anytime you use the or update, if you were to go in and change that person's registration form for some reason, you have an internal field on it, or you change something on it for some reason, they're going to get another email. This is the confirmation page, but if it were email, they would get another email every time you press save. You're going to end up driving the kid nuts, especially if you're changing a lot of things on their form. They're going to get an email every time you submit it. And it's going to be like, hey, you registered for this. Hey, you've registered for this. And eventually they're going to call up and say, I'm not registering for this stuff. Why am I getting all these confirmation emails? So I like to only use upon registration. Same thing, you can use UTM tracking, all that stuff. You can also set it as an email or a text message. I don't have text messaging set up in our instance here, so we don't see SMS. But if you have text messaging set up, you'll see SMS as an option as well. Just save that. So I'm not going to go ahead and create them all. They're all very similar, but you'll want your create confirmation page. You'll want your, let's go here, confirmation page. You'll want your confirmation email. So your email only. You'll want your time before event. Or is it time before event? 24 hours before the event, send an email. 2 hours before the event, send a text message. Time after the event, you'll want to say to all attendees, hey, thanks for coming. So maybe 3 hours after the event ends. Hey, Matt, thanks for coming. We really liked seeing you fill out the survey. To all no-shows. Hey, Matt, where the heck were you? We missed you. Sign up for another event. So you'll want some after event emails as well. I would recommend creating all of those on the template. Same thing is in your emails. You want to put some information. Again, ignore that I'm doing it on the confirmation page, but you'll want to say arrival date, arrival time. No, you'll put some information about their arrival date, arrival time, arrival location. We never want to hard code any of this if we can at all avoid it. If you ever do have to hard code something, that's a good indication to say, I need a separate template. So, but we'll put, let's say the arrival date would be our form date. Our arrival time would be our form time. If you really want, you can pull in form date time, which will say, you know, we're looking forward to seeing you on September 22nd, 2024 at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So use as many merge fields as possible. Same thing for the arrival location. It would be form location. So anything that's using this template, it's going to automatically pull in all of this data for the specific events that you have going on. So utilize merge fields in all your confirmation emails, all of that. Just be careful what things you're choosing here. Anytime that it's form submitter, these are all forms, form user. This is internal stuff. So it'd be like if I went in and registered a student, then I would get an email or my information would show. You don't really want to be using the form user stuff. You mostly want to be using the form and the SIS information. I think questions on some of the emails. So again, kind of feeds off what we did before. If you can create an email and deliver, you can also create an email in here. It's the same process. One other thing to show you in communications is a couple other things. If you're sending an email, I love to attaching an iCal file just because it's a way to sneakily harass them. So, you know, you attach that iCal file, they open it up on their phone. Now that file gets downloaded and puts it directly on their calendar. So now their calendar is going to harass them and say, you signed up for Matt's School of Slate open house, and it's going to be on my calendar. So it's kind of a sneaky way to harass them a little bit about your event that they've signed up for. So I love using the iCal file. So I'm all about the harassment. All right, so that's creating communications. You want to create all your communications. Edit form, I'm not going to go too in depth with this. We've already kind of covered forms. You can create a form, you can create an event form. So what information do we want to ask on the form? Typical merging information, first name, last name, email, birth date at very minimum. We want to collect that information. Outside of that, anything that's pertinent to that event. So goes back to the question before of if I have multiple campuses, do I need multiple templates? Maybe. So maybe on campus A, we're going to give you a free t-shirt if you come. So we're going to say, what's your t-shirt size? But on campus B, you get a mouse pad. So we're not going to ask you your t-shirt size if you're coming to campus B. So in that sense, we might want two separate templates. Template for campus A, template for campus B. Campus B, you get a mouse pad. Campus A, we're asking your t-shirt size. Anytime you're asking information that is not necessarily relevant to store on the student, like t-shirt size, store as a form field. You don't necessarily have to have a field for everything. So if I were to create a field for, do a select list, t-shirt size, I'm going to add prompts of, let's say, small, medium, large, XL, XXL, XXXXL. I don't know however many X's we have there. So I'm going to ask my t-shirt size, but you'll notice we're not going to store it in any system field. Mainly because most times we don't care to store that on the student. I don't necessarily care as the admissions person that you're asking for a size small t-shirt this time that you visit. And next time you visit, you're asking for a large. And the next time you visit, you're asking for a triple extra large. I don't care. And the reason for that is maybe the first time you visit, mom wants a t-shirt or little sister wants a t-shirt. Second time, you want the t-shirt. Third time, dad wants the t-shirt. So it's not something that is really pertinent to the student's information. So I always store it as a form field and not store it as a system field. Let's see what else. Some other things that you might want to consider asking on your events. If you have food, ask about dietary restrictions. Are you vegan? Are you vegetarian? Do you have dietary allergies? Anything like that. Ask all those questions and grab that data. But don't store it as a system field again, because you don't want to necessarily be responsible storing the information that Jimmy Smith has a peanut allergy. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe it's mom that has it, but he's just letting you know, mom's coming with me and there's a peanut allergy. So we don't necessarily need to store it on the student. We're just storing it on the form. Same thing with if you're doing any kind of event where there could be walking involved or you need special accommodations, asking what special accommodations, or do you have any special accommodations? Yes, no. And if you say yes, how can we accommodate you? I like to leave it open as a free text box or as a paragraph box so the student can explain what they need. I have a disability where I need to sit every 30 minutes. Okay, cool. We can't take you on a 2-hour-long tour because you need to sit every 30 minutes. Let's make sure there's a golf cart involved. Or I need to sit up front. Okay, let's have some reserved seating for you because you have trouble hearing. You need to sit up front on the left side of the room because your right ear doesn't work or whatever it might be. So that's where having a free text field would be beneficial for things like that. I need special parking because I need to be within 50 feet of the entrance because I can't walk far, things like that. If there's anything that you do consistently offer an accommodation for, like golf cart or like anything like that, you can also throw that in as an option, where it's like, I require special accommodations, yes, and then have golf cart, special seating, and other. And then if they click other, then they can fill out the paragraph box. Another recommendation is don't offer it on the form unless you truly are going to offer it to them. I've had people say, yeah, we'll get you a golf cart. And then they have to go call the golf cart company, order a golf cart just for that person for that day. And while that's great, maybe they don't really need the golf cart. People were just saying, yeah, I would like to have a golf cart that day. So that's usually where the paragraph box is helpful to say, this is what I need, help accommodate me. So that's their form. So again, if everything that is going to be using this open house template has the same questions, put them all on here on the form, save it, and we'll be good to go. The last thing that you'll want is a select box down here, and it is a special form field. And you'll pull in attendees or guests. So this is where we're going to be able to capture, how many total people are coming. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you can add numbers into this if you'd like, or how many guests, not including yourself, coming with you. So think about how you want to ask the question and what you're going to be storing in the either attendees or guests. So how many people are coming, or how many people other than you are coming? 0 people other than me are coming, or 5 people other than me are coming. So you have your attendees and guests field.
Don't use that field on scheduler. It will lock it up.
Yes. Great question. A great thing there. Because remember, scheduler is 1-to-1. So if I'm coming with one person and I say 4 attendees are coming, now Slate doesn't know what to do with it because it's a 1-to-1 event, but 5 people are coming to this one event and it doesn't know what to do with. So that's where you'll be asking guests. So I'm the attendee, I'm bringing 5 guests. We're not going to lock it up because I'm still 1-to-1, one attendee to one counselor, but mom and dad and little brother and Aunt Sally are all just going to sit in the background and listen to my financial aid conversation.
And we did keep the field, we just didn't system that.
Yeah. So yeah, that's something you can also always do. Keep a system or a form field and say, What else is coming here? You know, are you bringing your dog? Are you bringing your pet bird or things like that? Pet bird. Right. So create your form for your template, create your communications for your template. And then from there, you'll be able to utilize that template to create new events. So maybe I'm having my Math School of Slate October open house. You can throw internal names in here as well. Anything that's in the page title is forward facing, so the end user will be able to see it. Maybe internally, I know it as the MSSOOH. I call it the MSU internally, and I just know what that means. So I can store that internally, but then externally, I'll call it the Math School of Slate open house. This is where your foldering matters. So you'll put it into other, say, admissions. And we're going to call this an other field or another folder. Open house. Realm, it's inheriting from the template. And my status is either tentative, confirmed, or active. Confirmed and active means people can start signing up for it. Tentative means still being worked on. Canceled is canceled, obviously. Declined, most people don't use. But canceled is important. You're not going to get it a lot down here, but we just ran into it not long ago, where if snow happens, then you may cancel an event. You may want on your template a standard cancel message to go out. So if I go ahead and cancel this event, automatically that email goes out and says, the event today has been canceled or the event tomorrow has been canceled. Please go to our emergency page to get further details or something like that. So then they can go to the website, go to the emergency page and say, because we got 3 inches of snow, Tennessee panicked and the world is shut down. And then you can see what that message is. So I usually recommend just make it all confirmed active because we're ready to do it. We're ready to put it out there to the world. You can have it reoccurring. So maybe this is instead of a open house, maybe this is a daily campus tour. Maybe we run the tour every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday between February 1st and February 29th at, what did I say? Maybe like 10 o'clock. 11 o'clock p.m. Slate is also smart enough. If you type in 1100, it knows it's 11 o'clock. If you type in 1300, it knows it's 1 o'clock. If you type in 1700, it knows it's, what's that, 5 o'clock. So it understands military time as well as AM, PM, things like that. Do you want a deadline on it? Do you want people to sign up a certain number of hours before and then lock them out? Some items you may, other times you may not want to. So you can set that here. We're doing this as a reoccurring event. It's always going to be held here. This is where you'll put your user in. So maybe I'm creating this, but I know that that Heather left us, but Heather is going to be the one who's, I'll pick on Brian. Brian's going to be the one who's really running this event. So I'm going to put Brian as the user, and I can put a user 2 in there if I want, where maybe Brian and Jim are tag teaming this event and they're kind of owning this event. Not going to talk about Trip at this moment. I told you don't use admin notify email. Everything in location, description, registration settings, and notes is inherited from the template, unless you decide to change it here. So I think in my details, I use Columbia as my location. If I saved this right now, it would inherit all the Columbia information that I saved on the template, and I don't have to change it here. But if I have multiple campuses and I'm creating this as the Math School of Slate Campus A1, I may put Campus A's address here. And then if I'm creating a Campus B1, I would put Campus B's address here on the event as I create it. Save that. By saving it, now I have every Monday, Wednesday, Friday for the month of February, I have events created in my Slate instance. let's say it's the day of the event. Today's Wednesday. Let's go with that. 9th. Oh, it's at 10 a.m. Okay. So let's go with the 9th. So let's say it is Friday and it's the day of the event, and ignore what I'm doing for a second. I'm going to sign people up for my event so I don't feel so lonely. Launch registration. Stop registration. Start and thanks. Okay, so I have a couple people signed up for my event. It's Friday. Why didn't people sign up for my event? Let's go. Start. Submit. Maybe I didn't submit. Yeah. X. Submit. All right. I'll show you deeper what I did in a second. Okay, so now we have our event. I don't know why Max didn't come over, but that's okay. And we see that 2 people signed up. Yoda and Darth Vader both signed up for my open house on Friday. Let's say it's the day of the event. I'll come in here and maybe if it's an open house, I have a table set up with 2 or 3 people doing check-in. I would recommend you no longer need the, sorry, I'm also going to change this to me just so I can show you what it looks like. All right. You no longer need the lines of A through L, M through Z, or anything like that. Just have a table with your sign-in and have your laptops, and you'll have this launch check-in open. And then people will just come up to your table, and Darth Vader will come in and say, "Hey, Luke, I am your father." And you'll be like, "Hey, Darth, how you doing? You're here. Great. I'm going to check you in." All you have to do is press the little checkbox. Darth is now marked as attended for the event. So now when the event closes, 2 hours after the event, 5 hours after the event, whatever your email is set to, Darth's going to get an email that says, "Hey, Darth, thanks for coming to the Matt School of Slate open house. We really enjoyed seeing you fill out the survey." But let's say Yoda doesn't show up to the event. If I hit conclude event here at the bottom, what it does is it marks everybody that is null as a no-show. So then when the event truly is over, so 2 hours after the event, my emails kick off. Yoda's going to get an email that says, "Yoda, where the heck were you? Why didn't you come to my event? Please sign up for another event." So he's going to get the "sorry, we missed you" email. So that's key, especially when we're dealing with the no-shows. We want to make sure we conclude our event so those no-show emails do go. Let's see, what else can I show? On the day of the event, we can search for our registrants. So let's say we have 500 people registered and we're looking for Jimmy Smith. You can search for last name, first name, the word Jim, anything like that to try to find the people that we're looking for. And it will filter this list for the person that we're looking for. Let's say Jimmy Smith comes on the day of this event and we're like, "Jimmy, we didn't know you were coming. Like, we're glad to have you. Come on down, but we didn't know you were coming. Let's sign you up for this so you can get credit for coming to this." You'll go to new registration. And then if Slate knows about them, you can search for them here. And you can say, "Oh, Max, yeah, we already know about you. Let's confirm some of your information. AOL, Max, that's your name, your birthday. Okay, all your information is correct. Cool. We're going to hit submit." It's yelling at me for my AOL email address. There we go. So you're here. Great. I'm going to pre-sign you up. We already know a little bit about you. I'm going to sign you up, and it already marks you as attended. So now 2 hours after the event, Max is going to get an email that says, "Max, it was great seeing you at our open house." So the standard one that's on our template. So that's registering. If, for example, we did a new registration, we look for Max and let's say looking for Jimmy Smith. We look and we say no matches are found. I usually recommend a couple things. Either that staff member can ask them all the questions. What's your email? What's your first name? What's your last name? Fill out the form right then and there. Or if it's a big school or it's a busy event, have another computer set off up to the side with this registration form. And then just say, hey, go over to that computer over there, fill out your information, and then go get your t-shirt or go whatever you want. So that's the registration form. The description of the program, it's inherited from the template. This is the description here. Brought in the address of the program, as well as this is the forward-facing name of the program, the Math School of Slade October Open House, even though it's in February. Any questions on creating an event, creating the communications, running the event? During the check-in, I'm a huge nerd. So I used to, when we were having open houses, I would be tied to my VP's hip a lot of the time. And I'd be walking along with them and he'd be like, hey, how many people signed up now? How many people signed in now? How many people signed in now? And you're like, dude, chill. Like it's been 5 minutes. But you can constantly look at this and refresh your page. And you'd say, okay, you know, we have 2 people that checked in already. We have 3 people that checked in. We have 4 people that checked in. We have 72 people that checked in. So you can constantly give them updates. You can also run reports off your event and look at some data. This is a bad example, but you'll see there the registrant timeline. So maybe we opened this registration in January. We had 3 people register in January, 2 people early February, somebody last week. So we could see a bar graph. And then we can see also a bar graph of how many of those people that registered attended and no-showed. So sometimes they find that the earlier you register, the higher the chance of no-show. The later you register, the higher the chance of you actually attending. So you can take a look at your statistics there. Any custom questions you're also asking on your form will show up as data charts in here too. So major. If you ask what is your major on your form, you can see a data chart and it'll say 17% of your people are nursing majors, 30% of your people are business majors, 12% of your people are biology majors, and what have you. So you can see the graph. And then it'll break it down in terms of registrants, attendees, and no-shows. So that's pretty cool because then you can say 37% of our people were nursing majors that registered, but only 12% of the attendees were nursing majors. Why didn't they show up? Something's going on there. So you have some cool data that you can run there. And then you can export this to a PDF. Another thing, if you're asking address, you can gather information on where these people are from. That's one thing my VP always used to do. He always just say, I want to know the person that's closest and the person that's farthest. So you can run your query from that and say, okay, the person that traveled the farthest to come here was from Canada. You're like, okay, Billy from Ontario, you travel the farthest, you get a free t-shirt. And Sam from 2 blocks down the street, you are the closest, you get a free water bottle and goofy stuff like that. So again, all the kind of goofy stuff you can think of can be done here in Slate. That's events. Okay, where else do we want to go? Let's go into, let me tell you one other thing, and then we'll jump into trips. So on our event in communications, you'll see that there's a note up here that says this form template inherits any of its communications. So you can see that these are the inherited communications because I can't go in and edit it, right? It's just there. So it's using inherited communications. I can go back to my template and edit my communications if needed. But another thing that I kind of like, especially for bigger events like open houses, is you can do advertisement emails right from my communications section on the event. So let's say this is truly an October open house. It's a kind of a one-off event. I'm only doing it on October 15th or something like that. I can do a new mailing and it's called I'll make a liar out of me. Here. It is an outreach mailing. So I can create an outreach mailing on that event, and I can say October open house outreach mailing. Maybe I want it to be an email or an SMS. I'm just going to do it as an email for now and save that. Now it looks very much like Deliver. I can create my recipient list. So maybe I want to do a new query and say, give me all people who are, stop. That's where I get lazy. Give me all people who are, their email, and let's just say their name. Filter, who are interested in the term of whatever these terms are. So now I can go back to my deliver mailing, and I'm not creating this in deliver, I'm creating it on the actual event, not on the template, but on the event itself. I can create my message. Hey, Matt. So again, email and save that. So now I can send this email and either have it reoccurring, same stuff we did way before, but I'm building it on the event. The nice thing about this is if it's, let's say, a recurring email, so every 20 days I have the same email go out up until 5 days before my open house. I can have this email reoccurring, but if somebody signs up for my event, they automatically drop off the query. So I said, give me everybody who's interested in 21, 22, 23, 24, whatever my filter is here. But if I've already now signed up for the event, I'm never going to get that email again to outreach to me. So that's kind of where it's kind of a neat feature to do with the outreach mailing on the event versus doing it in deliver. In deliver, you could do it. You just have to build in the filter that says, and Matt didn't, and the person did not sign up for the October open house. Cool stuff there. All right. Any questions on events? I'm gonna hit on scheduler like 30 seconds. If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball. Same thing in scheduler. Create your template. It's literally the same setup. I don't want to bore you by going through it. You create your template, call it your financial aid counselor template, and then you can do your new session if you'd like and say, this is my financial aid meeting. I want to use my template of Ask a Consultant. The only difference between creating an event and creating a template is if I'm creating multiple sessions, I can create multiple sessions within a day versus on the event, I can create my multiple sessions of reoccurring daily versus multiple within a day. So I might say here, I want to create multiple sessions for this week at 10, 11, 1, and let's say 3. And my duration is, I don't know, 45 minutes. So for 45 minutes, if I did this every day for this week, they're going to, I'm going to create a session at 1 at 10, 1 at 11, 1 at 1, 1 at 3, each for 45 minutes long. That's really the only difference between scheduler, the setup of scheduler, and the setup of deliver. Same things when we create our template, we want to create our thanks for registering. Hey, you have an appointment in 24 hours. Hey, thanks for coming. Where the heck were you? The meeting's been canceled because of the meeting's been canceled. Go check our emergency website, things like that. So same kind of thing. You can dodge wrench, you can dodge ball. It's all exactly the same. This is the only minimal change here. So what the heck, let's create it. Confirmed active, save. I need days of the week. Let's just do that, save. So now in scheduler, these are all my appointments. Again, the only difference is if I created an appointment here and Matt signs up for the 3 o'clock Ask a Counselor session here. Let's launch check-in, new registration. I'm just going to sign Max up. It's not playing well with people. I'd probably have to play with it before. But let's say somebody signs up for it it's going to automatically take it offline and not allow anybody else to sign up for the 3 o'clock or the 10 o'clock, or again, whatever time that somebody signs up. So like this one, somebody signed up for Catherine's event here, it turns gray, nobody else is allowed to sign up. Same thing, foldering is critical. You want to store things in a neat, organized way within your folders. Scheduler questions?
So many.
It's literally the exact same thing.
A
So
lot of feedback posts about it, but I think it's system stuff, like pulling in more than one scheduler widget, like per widget in a portal. That would be
we're
really
going there
helpful.
next.
Being able to edit the iCal file so that users can actually see who they're meeting with, like
That would be cool.
internally. There's a lot of stuff I wish they would. I feel like they launched it and then just haven't really worked on improving it.
They haven't really changed events or scheduler since Slate was first built.
Ironically, you can reschedule an event, but you can't reschedule in scheduler,
Right.
which is really the place you'd want to reschedule,
You would think.
I would think.
But so yeah, scheduler and events, it's one of those, it's always worked. There have never been any major problems. So they haven't touched it a whole lot. They've made some tweaks, but we'll see if Alexander throws in some updates in the upcoming year. I don't know of any, but he's a surprising guy. All right, so the next thing I want to show you is event portals. So let's just pick on events because that's where we were, Matt School of Slate Open House. I could go to my website, paste this URL onto my website if I felt really intrigued to do that, and have people sign up for my open house. The downside of doing that is I've seen so many schools where they say, come to my October open house, and they have a link, and it's now November. And you're looking at them, you're going, why are you advertising an October open house in November on your website? Take it off, update your website. Or it's December and their October open house is still on the website. So I recommend doing portals. So we've all known portals with your actual application portal and things like that. There's a special kind of portal called an Express portal. I'm just going to go to portals and show you where it is. You can go to Express portal right off the database, or you can go to Express portal over here. I may slip and call it an event portal. It used to be called event portals. Now it's called an Express portal. But if you go to an Express portal, you can do a new Express portal, and I'm going to call it Open House. And my key is going to be Open House. So then on your website, you're going to put your URL /portal/ and then I think it's your key that you'll put in. And I'll show you how to get it in a moment for Open House. And then you'll put this as a button on your website. So when they click that button, it will drop them into the Open House portal. So then they can see all the Open House events. Or maybe it's just maybe it's a campus visit portal and you want all your daily events, your open houses, whatever, however you want to organize it. This is where, again, knowing your programs is helpful. So let's just call it a campus visit portal. So I'm going to say /portal /campus visit. I can folder it here. I'm just not going to at this moment. We'll determine the scope of the event. Most of your events are going to be person scoped. The only reason really to make it an application scoped event, if you want to lock down registration for that event to only applicants. So something like a advising appointment. You don't want somebody off the street just coming in and saying, I'm signing up for an advising appointment. Because then they go meet with the advisor and the advisor goes, you haven't even applied. Who the heck are you? So that doesn't make sense. So an advising appointment, you probably want it to be application scope. An accepted student day, probably want it to be application scoped because you don't want Jimmy from down the street waltzing in that day and going, I'm here for the accepted student day. And you're like, you haven't applied, get out. Because we would never do that. So you can make the scope either anonymous guest or person scoped. Anonymous guest basically says there's no security behind it. Anybody can fill out this form, which for the most part is what you would want. I'm going to leave this stuff blank. Ignore a lot of this for now. That's kind of 2.0 stuff. So then it brings up a view here. Let me actually show you what it looks like. So this is your URL that you're going to put on your website, slate.sig.sh/portal/campus visit. And this is what your portal looks like. Right now, it just has this home button, really does nothing. So this is what your campus visit portal looks like right now. And we're going to keep the live version open so we can see what it looks like as we go. I'm going to go in here. I'm just going to delete this section because I don't like that button. So I can determine what my layout is. If you have multiple campuses, let me pull open Columbia. I want to show you Columbia's orientation. Theirs looks really pretty. Here's Express Portals, orientation. This one. So this is their orientation portal. So they have on their website this button. They have a nice little picture at the top, and this is all in Slate. The top is inherited by your Slate branding. Everything in this white section you control. So we have some nice pictures, a little graphic thing here, a description of their program. And then they have different boxes here for each of their campuses. So they have a Columbia campus, they have a Williamson campus, a Lawrence campus, a Lewisburg, a Clifton, and online orientation. So we're then able to break it out because we organized their events in nice, neat folders. We can say in this section, only show the orientation events that are Columbia campus orientation events in the Columbia campus folder. Everything in this section only show the Williamson campus events that are in the orientation folder. Only show in this section the Lawrence campus events. So this is where organizing it into folders is going to be really critical. So for them, we broke it out into orientation and then subfolder for Columbia, subfolder for Williamson, subfolder for Lawrence, and then that way we're able to advertise these. The other nice thing by doing a portal is you'll see here that all these dates are in the future. You don't see any dates that are in the past. So as the date passes or registration for that has expired, so if you say you have to sign up for this event 7 days ahead of time, if that has expired, it drops off your portal. So then nobody can sign up for past events. Same thing is if no events exist, for like example, Lawrence here, it's just going to say there are no upcoming events to display. So we know that there are no orientation events upcoming for Lawrence, but Columbia and Williamson have a bunch of orientation events. So this is where your organization within folders is going to be critical. Let's go back and build one real quick. So first thing I can determine is what do I want my layout to be? Their layout is a three equal column with a header. So let's edit this. I'm just going to make it a 2 equal column with header. And here we can change our URL to make it really custom if we really want. I would recommend against it, up to you. There we go. So now we have I didn't do 2 equal. That's all right, I'm not going to do it. So now we can throw in a picture here if we want. So we can throw in some static content. This is text. Where I get not very creative. I can throw in maybe a header of some sort. Let's throw SIG. Yeah, 400 is fine. Okay, save that. And then now in our body area here, we can throw in our event. And we can say on this portal, because I've named it, what is it, campus visit, I only want to show things that are in our campus visit folder. So I can come over here, I'd have to name it first, just call it events because I'm not feeling overly creative right now. Here is where I do my filter and say only show the events that are in the Mapper folder or the, what did I call it? Orientation. It was what? The Med School of Slate something. I don't remember what I named my folder. I'll just call it the Mapper folder. So only show events that are in the Mapper folder or show events and scheduler things, scheduler programs that are in the Matt Her folder. So this is where you can choose, you can show all scheduler and events, or just scheduler in that section. We can also pick the format that we want to do, or I'm sorry, the display. We can do it in list view, which is what Columbia is doing here. So they have it in list view. We can do it in calendar view, where we show a calendar and we can see a little green square. These are also customizable, so you can change the color to your branding colors if you'd like. So you can see what's available, what's not available. Yeah, let's just do that. So now if I refresh, I can see a calendar and I can scroll through and say, what are the upcoming events? The difference I would tell people to choose either a list or a calendar is how often is this event being held? If it is being held daily, like a campus tour, use a calendar. It's going to make your life so much easier. That way you don't have a long list. So like if we were picking on Columbia here, let's say we were showing their daily events here, you might have to scroll a whole lot to see all their upcoming events. We don't want to do that. So in that instance, we might want to do the calendar so they can say, hey, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I see that there are events. And if I click on it, I would then get the drop down list to see there's a 2 o'clock, a 4 o'clock, a 6 o'clock event on that day. You can do it in list view. If you're feeling really ambitious, you can go into map view. For you all, I don't see any reason to do a map view, but you can do a map view if you're recruiting all throughout the United States, and you can say, I want to pick all my events that are in Oregon or Washington or California or Nevada or Texas or wherever. So people can click on the specific area, or they can type in, I might have to set up, but they can type in their zip code and then it zooms into their specific area and they can find an event close to their zip code. I don't want to go too deep into that. You're not going to be using the map view. So create your event. You can throw multiple events on here. So in this event widget, I'm showing only those things that are in the Matt Her folder. I might want to create another one that shows events shows events that are in the campus info sessions folder. So now there are no upcoming events for the campus info sessions one, and here are the ones for whatever this one was, I don't remember, the Matt Her folder. Any questions on the events portal? So events portals are just really cool. It gives you the option to really control what you're showing in an organized way to the student, and you control it. You don't have to call your web team and say, hey, can you add this event to our website? And they say, yeah, we'll do it in the next 7 days. And you're like, my event's tomorrow. I need this on the website today. So all you have to get your website team involved in is to say, on our visit page, put our campus visit portal link, and that link just lives forever. Now you just have to edit your campus visit portal to show whatever you want to show. So I don't know if that changes anything with your links at all. Maybe, maybe not. So you may have a special reason why you do some funky things with your links. Another thing you can do is, let's say you're emailing a student. So you're doing a campus outreach email, or not campus outreach, an outreach email to say, Matt, come to the Columbia campus orientation. I can take this URL and append on the end of it. I think it's and person equals you can append their GUID onto the end of it. There it is, cool. And it pre-populates all the information that we know about them. It's really nice doing that because it's a good customer service. How many times have we filled out forms where somebody emails you, Domino's emails you and says, hey, can you update your information, and just sends you to a random website, and it's asking first name, last name, email, birth date, all those other things. And you're like, you know this about me. You sent me an email to go here and update my information, and now I have to fill out this stupid form again. So if you add the person's GUID onto the back of it, you're pre-populating it for them just to make their life a little bit easier. And now all they have to do is look at it and go, yeah, everything's correct. Sign up for that event. So hopefully that will convert into more signups for your event because they don't have to do work. They're just saying, yeah, it's everything. Now I just have to sign up for how many people are coming and hit submit. So you're really making life just easier for them. So that kind of goes back to what I was saying way before is we don't want students to have to do more work than they have to do. So if we already know information about them, let's pre-populate it, let's send it out to them, and let's just have them complete more information as we need it. So that is an event portal. Portal questions. Or an express portal, sorry. No portal questions. All right, I'm going to jump into trips very quickly. It's very, very similar to all the stuff we just did. So again, don't want to go too in depth with it, but we're going to go to hover over events and go to trips. And we're going to create a new trip. So remember, I think I said this on our 101 day, your trip is essentially that 3-ring binder that sits in your passenger seat. Now it's digital. So we're going to name the trip something that's meaningful to us. I would caution you from naming it Patty's fall travel or Matt's fall travel or Matt's Tennessee travel or something like that. I would name it more off the location I'm going or the purpose of that trip. So I might call it Northeastern Tennessee 2024 recruitment. So that tells me something about that trip. If I just called it Matt's 2024 fall recruitment, well, where did Matt recruit? Was he in Southwestern Tennessee, Eastern Tennessee, Northern Tennessee? Where was he recruiting? And my territory this year might be very different than my territory next year. So we know admissions people, they just rotate. So maybe this year I'm in Southwestern Tennessee, next year I'm in Northwestern Tennessee, the following year I'm in Eastern Tennessee doing recruitment. So I would name the trip after the location I'm traveling versus my name. You may have special territory names, so you might call it Territory 1 recruitment, Territory 2 2024 recruitment, things like that. So I'm just going to call it Fall 2024 Territory 1. Foldering, again, beneficial. I might call a folder Territory 1. So now if I'm Territory 1 next year, great. I can save it in my Territory 1 folder. If Becky's Territory 1 next year, she can save it in the Territory 1 folder. So then from a year-to-year basis, we can see what everybody's done in Territory. Let's save that. So now I've created my 3-ring binder, right? So I have my 3-ring binder created. Now what do I want to do? I have Territory 1. I'm just going to go off my crazy admissions experiences. So always in June, July, mostly in August, you get the papers in the mail that says, come to the Matt School of Slate College Fair on, not January, September 15th from 6 to 9. Come to the Columbia County College Fair from 6 to 9 on September 8th, things like that. So you'll get all those invitations in the mail. You'll also want to visit high schools. So you'll say, I'm going to visit Matt's high school or Matt's School of Slate on February 8th from, I don't know, nobody likes lunch visits, 8 o'clock in the morning to 9 o'clock in the morning. And I'm going to recruit students during that time. So we're going to create all of those as events. Now, I said before, we want to create templates. I would encourage you to create a high school visit template, a college fair template, and on that template, your form is going to look very much like your inquiry card form. So that one that you go and the students all fill it out and they just put Mickey Mouse or they put, random names, things like that, or hopefully their name, then they hand it in to you. you want your form to look like your inquiry form. You don't need any crazy communications with your high school visit, your college fair templates. The only ones I would create are, it was great seeing you. So after you enter those names or the names get entered, the student gets an email that says, it was great seeing you at the Columbia County College Fair. We hope you come to campus soon, or something like that, something very general. So let's create an event. Ideally, we'll want to use a template. I don't think I have any templates here I want to use. So I'm just going to create a dummy event. It's going to be let's call it Columbia County College Fair. I would pick my template. I don't have one, so I'm not going to do it. This is where you'll pick a folder. So maybe I put it in the folder of recruitment travel. Maybe I have a subfolder of Territory 1. Realm. Again, you use realms. You want to pick that. Make it confirmed active. What I usually recommend for the status is if I've responded to the school and said, yes, I'm coming to the Columbia County College Fair, make it active. If you're still up in the air and you have to get approval from your dean or something like that, make it tentative. If they call and say it's canceled, mark it as canceled, and then you know that that event has been canceled. Or maybe you got sick, so you just mark it as canceled, and then you can put a note in it later on that says, I got sick, this is why I didn't go. But let's say it's confirmed, I already said I'm coming. We know that the event is on, I'm just gonna make it next week, February 20th from 6 p.m. until February 20th at 9 p.m. All right, there's no deadline because it doesn't matter. The user is going to be me because I'm attending that college fair. Maybe I get sick and Becky's going to cover it for me, or Brian. So Brian's going to cover it for me. I can change the user on my recruitment to Brian. That way, I know Brian went to that event. And when my dean is running data, he can see how many people did Matt recruit, how many people did Brian recruit, or how many people did Matt recruit during his travel, and how many people did Brian recruit during his travel. So you can then sort and look at users. This is all about tying how did we see the student, where did we see the student, who saw the student, and what happened to that student going forward. So maybe we didn't know about Jimmy Smith, and Brian did a really good job at recruiting at the Columbia County Fair, and he got Jimmy Smith to inquire. Now, 6 weeks later, Jimmy Smith ends up applying. So we can kind of tie that back and say, Brian did such a good job, he got Jimmy to apply 6 weeks after that event. So we can start tying and inferring some data. This is where we'll also add in the location of the event. So Columbia County, I'm just gonna pick something. Tennessee. TNT Fireworks in South Carolina. That's where this event is going to be held. First thing I picked. This validates off of Google. So I can throw any kind of data in here. Marriott in North Carolina. I'm going to pick the Winston-Salem Marriott. So maybe the event is held at the Winston-Salem Marriott, Cherry Street in North Carolina. I don't necessarily have to have a description here. It might be helpful. So you might have on your invitation, park out back, enter by the flagpole. So you can put some helpful descriptions in there. You don't need registration settings. Ignore that. Notes are also helpful. So things that you might want to remember on a year-to-year basis. This is a horrible affair. Never go again. So you can put notes like that. So then next year when you're looking at it and you got the Columbia County Fair in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, you can look at it and go, this was a horrible fair. I made a note never to go again. I'm not signing up for that one next year. Or you may want to say, great cookies.
It's all about the spread.
Interesting. Great cookies and hoagies. So Sorry, I'm a Pennsylvania guy. I'm calling it a hoagie and not a sub. So then we can see on our notes here that from 6 to 9, we're going to this Columbia College Fair. They have great cookies and hoagies. I can click on it. I can see my description. I go to my edit. I can see in my description that I need to park out back. I can also put that into my notes. I also have the option of adding some expenses in here. So this is where you can get really nerdy and cool. Oxymoron, but you can get some real nerdy, some stuff in here where you can scan your receipts for it. Or if we know that this college fair cost us $200 to attend, we can store that in here. And now we can run some analytics and say, we only saw 3 people at this college fair. It costs us $200 to go to. That's, let's say 4 people. 4 people, it costs us $200 to go to. That's $50 a student to recruit that student. Was it worth $50 a student to go all the way to Winston-Salem and recruit 4 students? Probably not. So now you can start getting really nerdy with your data and start running some ROI on, is my travel worth going to these specific areas? All right, so I created my Columbia County College Fair. Let me go back to my trip. It pre-maps it for you. So if I zoomed in, if I went, this validates off Google. So this is where the Winston-Salem Marriott is held. So I can zoom in and see that. I can also do a search for points of interest because maybe I'm traveling there and I'm getting there early and I want to look for pizza. So I can search for pizza, and these are all the good pizza places in the area. So I can say, you know what, Domino's is overrated. I want to go to this place because it's right down the street. I can add that as a stop. So maybe I want to go there. What was my date? February 20th. And my thing is starting at 6. Maybe I want to be there at 5. End date, same date. Same date, 6 o'clock p.m. So now I have all my data. I can save that. So now it's mapping it for me. So I know that I'm going to go to whatever pizza place that is. I'm going to go to that pizza place. And then after I'm done, I'm going to do the college fair. And then I can also search for stops along the way. I already chose Marriott, so I'm going to choose Hilton. So I can search here and find out where the Hiltons are, because maybe I'm a Hilton's Rewards member. And say, there's an Embassy Suites right down the street, literally next door. I'm going to look at that. I'm going to add that as a stop. And I'm going to check in on the 20th, check out on the 21st. So I'm only spending one night there. Check in at, I don't know, 8 o'clock. And check out at 11 o'clock a.m. So you can see this is becoming my binder. So I'm going to Winston-Salem. I'm going to go to the pizza place. I'm going to go to the college fair. I'm going to check into my hotel, stay there till the next morning. I can, on each of my stops, I can add my expenses. So I can add my expense of it was lodging, or maybe it was paid by a corporate card and it was $250, and save that. So now I have some data that it cost me $250 to stay there for the night. Maybe the college fair cost me $200 and the pizza place cost me $8 for a slice of pizza and a drink. So now my VP can look at this and says, it costs you $500 to go to Winston-Salem and you saw 2 students. $250 a student. That's not a great ROI. Maybe it also costs you to have a rental car. So now it costs you $1,000 to go there to recruit 2 students. It's not worth our time to do that. Or you saw 50 students there. It only cost you $1,000. It's worth our time. Let's keep on doing that type of an event. Or, hey, Matt, why are you spending $48 at the pizza place? Don't do that. Like, stop doing that. Go to Domino's down the street because I know there's a Domino's right there and it's going to cost you $6. So go to Domino's instead of the really expensive pizza place here. One caveat. This expense area is not meant to replace your institutional expense reporting. So just to put that out there, that's my legal asterisk there, my star, to say, don't scrap your expense reporting for this. It's helpful though. The other nice thing is, I don't know where my phone is, but with the app on your phone, you can open up your trip and you can scan your receipts and it pre-populates all those fields for you. Kind of a cool thing. So I like that too, because I'm notorious. Back in the day when I traveled with a binder, I was notorious for going through the drive-through at McDonald's, taking the receipt, throwing it in my cup holder, and then I'm driving down the road. I open my windows, and then the receipt goes flying into the back seat, goes under the seat. You lose the receipt, something like that. So if you're taking a picture of it and storing it on your trip, even if it's not replacing your expense reporting, now you have a copy of that receipt. So if your expense office is okay with it, you can print that out, make it a little bit easier for yourself. So some things that I like here. So this is adding events, adding stops. You're not going to use it, but you can add in flights here as stops. So I can add in my flight and it validates off Google. So it'll say if my flight's on time, what gate it's going to, all that stuff. So I can put my flight in tomorrow. It'll pull all that information. I can add in my event within stops. I can add in rental car, train, ferry, car rentals, all sorts of stuff in here too. So fun stuff there. I can also add in new slots. So new stops are events, new slots are scheduler. So maybe while I'm doing this North Carolina trip, I have, let's say the next morning between 8 and 11 o'clock in the morning. Let's say I wake up at 8. Maybe I'm going to offer 4 half-hour appointments in the lobby of my hotel to meet with students. So I can enter new slots and then add those in. So Becky can meet with me and we can sit in the hotel lobby and talk about how great Columbia is. Or, Sam might come over and we sit in the lobby, have a cup of coffee and discuss, all the academic offerings of Columbia. So you can also see a summary of your expenses here. If you're really old school and you still like your binder, you can print your itinerary and it opens up in a Word document. So if you're really old school, you can do this, or if your VP says, hey, I want a printed copy of where you're going to be, you can print this out for them. You can print out your expenses. So you can then see who am I, what's my title, pulls all my personal information in from the system, and then all my expenses for that trip. So some fun stuff there. Any questions? Oh, last thing with the event. Let's say it's the day of the event. I do my Columbia County College Fair at the Marriott. I get 15 cards or something like that. I'm standing behind the table. I gather my 15 cards. I'll go to my hotel that night and click on my event. And this is where I would do launch check-in and new registration. And this is where I would go through each of those cards and first search for them here on the list. So Gary B, there are no Gary B's in our system. I'm going to enter Gary Busey's information here on the side. Maybe I met Alec Baldwin out on the road. He filled out a card. Alec doesn't exist in our system. I'm going to enter Alec's information, hit submit. He's going to be registered and attended that college fair. So the sooner you can get your cards in and your data into the system, the sooner then we can get those communications out to the student that says, it was great seeing you at the Columbia College Fair on whatever date. Please come by campus soon. We'd love to see you. Come get a free t-shirt.
Let's say I have like an iPad. I'm the recruiter.
Yes.
Is there a way for me to have because that form's tied to the event? There's QRs associated with the form. So could I display basically a prospect form that's specifically tied to this event?
You can. So just like any other event, so it's essentially built as an event. You could go to this URL. So let's just open it in a new tab. And you could put the iPad with this up just on your table, and then students can just type it in and fill out that information.
Later, those prospects will be connected with that event.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Big thing is you just want to mark them as attended. So then they get the attended email. But yeah, they can fill it out themselves. Maybe I'm a little old school, so I'll just put that caveat out there. I never liked doing the iPad only because if you're especially at a college fair, you get 10 families up at once, you have one iPad, it almost becomes a hindrance rather than just filling out.
Once the QR code is tied to the event, and if you have heads up, you can print it, bring it with you, or whatever your mode is,
Yep.
then all of them are tied back to that event.
You can do that too. I've even seen people where they take a screenshot of it on the iPad and then put the iPad on the tables, and then people are taking a screenshot of the iPad screenshot. So if you want to get the QR code, edit form and embed form, there's your QR code. So if you took a picture of that right now, you could sign up for my Columbia College fair.
Attached to that recruitment activity.
Yeah, so
Awesome.
it's attached just to that event.
Last question on this Stripe. Is there a way to get this to talk back to the timeline of the school? So let's say I'm recruiting at a specific high school. I created my event, but I want that event to show on the organization timeline. Because that's currently how we're doing it, but I could move to this. I just don't want to have to maintain both. So you do all this and then still have to go to that school and log an interaction.
It's a good one. I think I want to play around with some ideas, but the first thing that's coming to my mind is an export import. So run a query that says, give me all the trips and the seed codes associated with that trip. So the one thing when you're dealing with these events is you're not necessarily tying it to a specific seed code, because right now this is at a hotel that we're having it. So there's no seed code attached to this. But if I'm going to Math School of Slate, we know the seed code, we could export that. So I might do a query, export it, re-import it directly into Slate, but import it then onto the organization's data set. So now I'm saying, okay, I've attended this information or this event. If I've attended the event and I have greater than one student, or maybe even no students, if I've attended the event, take it, export it, and put it on the school's table or the organization's table. That might be the way to do it. There may be another way that's a little simpler.
You could do that for a bulk at a time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So I might do that like every Friday. So every Friday or every Monday morning, update them from the week before, every event, and then load it in. Or maybe before my trip actually happens, everything that I'm registered for, take it and load it on. So timing is then up to you. But I might do an export import. That might be the easiest. So Rob and I have talked about a lot of export imports. So that's kind of what I'm thinking right off the bat. The last thing I'll show you here, a couple of things. I talked about the events on your schedule. I said it was below. I lied, it's above. So these are all my events that are coming up that I'm in charge of. So right on your home slate, it automatically populates all the events that I'm in charge of. So I can just see the next, 5 or 6 or however many this is, events that are coming up. So if I'm interested, I can go, oh, I have the Math School of Slate open house. I can click on that and it brings me directly to the event. So if I'm the user or the secondary user, it'll populate my list here. What didn't I cover? I did trips, I did events, scheduler, deliver,
Voyager.
Voyager. I'm going to try to do Voyager in 15 minutes here for you. Voyager. Okay, Voyager lives in, is it reports? I have to think about that. Yes, it lives in the reports/queries section. If you're in the old version or the old UI, it's this little icon, looks like a little map plot. If you're in the new UI, if you hover over here, you can just click on Voyager. Personal preference, but I'm going to do it in this version now. All right, so Voyager. This is one of those ones that I always open the knowledge base on because it's nuanced, but it's not hard. And open that just so we have the instructions. There are a couple good articles in here. There's also a video on Voyager. It's old, it's from 2016. So there are some changes, but it's a really good step-by-step video. So if you have, I think it's an hour long. If you have a little bit of time, watch the video. It's really good, but the instructions are also pretty good. They're 2023, so they're a little bit newer. So let me show you the instructions first, and then we'll go ahead and build something. So there are a couple options where you can have markers or overlays. Markers are literally just map plots where it's saying we have 8 people from this general area, zip code area, 6 people from this general zip code area, 1 person from this, and so on. So you can grab your slate data, overlay it on a map based on their address. That's a bigger discussion of what address are we looking at, their permanent, their home, all of that fun stuff. So what is their address? And let's plot them on a map. So here we can see we have 6 people from Norwalk, 16 people from Westport, and so on. So we can see that. We can then have overlays of US Census data. So let's just say these are income levels, right? So if we're saying the red area is income higher than 60,000, the white area is income lower than 10,000 or 20,000 or get whatever the number is. So then you can see this is our high income area. This is kind of a medium income area. And then these are our low income areas. And then if you overlay your map plots or your markers, you can then look at your overall population and say, wow, we're getting a lot of students from this high income area. Why is that? Maybe there's a new grant going on for community colleges for people over a certain income. I don't know why that would happen, but that might be. Or we're getting a lot of people from this lower income area. Why are we getting a lot of people from that area? We have a good recruiter in that area. We have X, Y, and Z happening in that area. So you can overlay your data with US Census data. And then these overlays can also be any other US Census data. I just use income, but it could be Hispanic population. It could be based on education. So this is where people have higher education. This is where people have lower education. So any of the US Census data that exists.
I assume you have to activate that in the template library.
You actually, I don't think so. I think it's automatic in here. It's been a while since I've had to activate it. So let's take a look at that. So we're going to do new voyage. We're just going to call it map test. I'm not going to folder it because I'm being lazy right now. So we get the US, right? So I'm going to do the first thing is I'm going to edit layers. I'm going to add a new layer and prospects. We're just going to call it prospects. We'll make the color, I don't know, just pick red. So we're going to do a marker. We're going to make it red. Let's say your default visibility is on. We'll make it number 1. We're going to use configurable joins. We're going to do person, save. Edit my layer. Oops, sorry, edit my query. So now we're going to build a query. It's person scoped. We're going to join to address by rank overall, let's say, my rank 1 address. So now you're starting to see why we did all our query training earlier. It all ties together. And I'm going to export my address zip code and filter on application person status of inquiry. Sure. I called it prospects, but you get the point. So these are all my inquiries and I'm exporting the zip code. If I go back to edit layer, I can say my location export is my zip code. And my location is a zip code. So I can save that. If I go back here, I can toggle this on. Take a second. There are also a lot of fake addresses in here, so I don't even know if it's going to work.
Scroll down a little bit.
Oh, an error has occurred retrieving these results.
Good. I've successfully accomplished getting to where you are.
All right, let me go into who can I play with?
Maybe it's folk.
I'm going to pull.
Right now.
Jackson's here. I'm going to mess with Jackson because I actually think I did it for you guys. I don't want to mess with Columbia because it's actually using data. Let's go to this. We're going to go to New Voyage. I actually didn't do it for you guys. See if I created it for Columbia. Sometimes I create it and then I delete it. If it's kind of junk data. But let's see here. Nope. There we go. I'm going to go to one other person. Nope. Okay. So let's create it again. All right, I'm going to go to queries. Let's go to here, map test, edit layers, edit query. I'm going to throw in some exports of the address just to see if I actually have data for it. Okay, there are people without an address. I'm going to put a filter and say address exists. Address with exists. All right, there are 5 people where there's an address that exists. They all look like fairly normal addresses. Let's see if that works. Error has occurred. Edit layers. All right, so prospect active. Oh, I think I know what it is. I think I have to label my field a certain way.
Because
This is where I have the instructions because markers. All right, so name the marker. I did that. Type should be marker. Color, I did that. Default visibility, cool, we did that. Order, we did. Population, the population of the query. We want to add geography query based from ACS data. So you are correct. Let's bring that over from the Slate Temple library. ACS data, add that. Let's do that. Case is required first. It's already there. Select the population you want, add geography query based from the ACS data. Gzip could not be bound. Let's do this. Oh, here, geography is my base. Just being dumb. Sorry about that. Query standard filters. Add that too.
I don't even have geography as an option.
Yeah, so geography is going to be your base. And it's kind of one of those special bases.
Yeah, like that's not an option. We got look up prospects, applicants, organizations, schools.
In your Slate Temple library,
Well, in the base under the ACS thing.
you might have to add that. I wonder if I added it here in this instance before. Let me see if it now works. An error has occurred. Let me do this. Let me build an example for you tomorrow, and then I'll make sure we put that on the schedule for tomorrow to walk you through Voyager. Because it's nuanced. It's one of those where one little thing goes wrong, it doesn't work. We'll use the first thing in the morning to talk about Voyager. Yeah, let me play around with that. I'll build out some Voyager examples and walk you through any of the steps. But I did find that this article is pretty encompassing. So if you can use the Voyager article from 2023, it's pretty good. And if you walk through each of the steps step by step, you should be able to get it. So we'll play with that tomorrow. All right, on my list for tomorrow. Anything else?
We're out of time today.
1 minute left.
Would it be possible to add slate.org for a 5 to 10 minute conversation tomorrow?
Possibly.
If nothing else, I think this room might have some good conversation about it that you might be able to weigh in on.
Let's do that.
Okay.
I'll be honest, with most of my schools, I don't set up slate.org in year one. It's usually a year two implementation. You guys are all in year two plus, so it might be a good conversation for that. But yeah, we'll put slate.org on there too. Operations, train the trainer. Yeah, we'll do Voyager / slate.org. We'll make sure we talk about that.
Thank you.
All right, I'll be around if you need me.